All right, welcome back. Hawthorne Racecourse, back live at the NHC, and we're here at day 2. And so far, well, there's been a few races, but not much movement as far as the board. It's been pretty chalky. There was a 5-1 winner. There was a couple long shots underneath, but overall, not a lot of board movement. So before things really start kicking off, wanted to get some conversations in with players and then let them loose to play. One of those is Chris Larmey, who's, I feel comfortable calling you my friend at this point. We've known each other. I feel like since I first started playing, I've seen you in the tournament room, so I've known you at least in person, and we've become closer over the years. But more than 10 years, probably 12 years or so.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Time flies when you get old like me. It's like, years go by. What can I say?
Oh, we're still here and still doing it. So you qualified through Hawthorne, you won the Invitational. And you're playing 2 entries this year, correct?
No, just one.
Just the one. So just the $1 million bonus, right?
Yeah, I almost didn't want a second entry because I didn't want to have to worry about, if I do well, I want to get it on that $1 million bonus. So this way, I just focus on one.
Okay. So how has that worked out so far? Are you okay with that? Or do you kind of wish you had a second?
No, I mean I did not have a good day 1, but I think I probably would have played them both the same. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so I mean, that would help give me an advantage if I'm doing well at the end.
Yes.
But early on, it really didn't make any difference at all.
Okay.
If I don't pick it up, the pace here pretty quickly, it won't matter.
All right.
For sure, the $1 million bonus is safe at the moment.
Okay.
So the insurance company can relax, at least from my end of it.
Well, as you know, because as we kind of preface, you've done this a few times, so you've been here before, and you know how a good day can change everything around. Especially you've been experienced, you've been into this for a while, and even going back to yesterday, just kind of going over some results, was there anything that you would have done different, any big mistakes, or was it just one of those where you played the way you wanted to play, you played the horse you wanted to play, and it just didn't work out?
It was just one of those days. I didn't really like the races going in much. The kind of races I like to play just weren't available on a Friday, especially with some cancellations and issues. But no, it was one of those days where my horses ran, but they would run second or third instead of first or second. And in this format, that's a killer.
It is, yeah.
You can't key a horse at a price and then maybe have it in an exotic or something. If it runs second, you get the place price, and if it runs third, you get nothing. And I had quite a few of those. So.
A few third, but you're getting like patient enough to be like, okay, at least this is the number and this is the right play. It just wasn't the right outcome.
Yeah, I pretty much had a plan going in, and I executed it. Just didn't get the result.
Okay. So coming into today, knowing the position that you're at, what's kind of your overall strategy? Is it sort of going to be more of the same, or maybe you kind of bump up what your minimums were?
I'll stay with it until if I continue to do poorly, as the day wears on, I might have to change. I kind of think of these contests as, I use a chess analogy. It's got an opening where you have to come up with a strategy, and your job at the beginning is just to try to put yourself in a position to execute your strategy. My opening didn't go very well. I lost a few pieces on the board. But it's in the mid game now, and I'm going to try to. I haven't abandoned the strategy yet. I might have to take a few chances I wasn't planning on, but if I, think I get a good break somewhere along the way, I can just slide right back into what I planned on doing. And then in the end game, then it's all situational. You have to completely adjust your play if you're way behind, and if you're ahead, you can continue on, but then it gets really tactical at the end when you get down to the last few races.
Right.
So
have you used this sports analogy here, like chess, I guess game theory, and then also when we were talking yesterday, and I really want to thank you for the conversation we had yesterday because it was really great. We were able to talk about takeout, which you're a huge supporter of, the lowering the takeout, and influential on that when I had John on and talk about it.
Thank you, Hawthorne, too. Sorry, I had to jump.
You can cut me off to say that at any point. But John mentioned how influential you were towards that, and just being an advocate for the player, I think, is huge. But it meant something to me is just as far as somebody that is pushing for change to remember the struggle of that towards change. And as you're mentioning and you're talking about this, that's, where you're going to have to change and struggle and adjust. And, you talk to me about those kind of coachable moments. And there's things that I'm, thinking about, and that meant a lot to me. Have you looked, in terms of kind of that game theory, have you kind of looked to the back half of the card and kind of started to work backwards, or are you going to work forwards and adjust and then maybe?
I usually, like the last few races, I'll have thought it through, like if I'm in this position, what horse am I probably going to play? If I'm in this position, what? So I kind of have options
Yes.
for those last couple races. I usually do that. And I've done that. Right now, my option is probably going to be option C, unfortunately. But if things
It's an
pick
option.
up, yeah,
It's still an option.
There's always an
Yeah.
option C. So
Yeah.
usually I have like an A, B, and C. A, I'm on the lead or really close. B, I'm in contention, but I need something. And C, I'm sort of desperate kind of play.
Okay, so I don't feel too bad saying, giving away the game at this point, but you said that the first race that you're going to play, so your first play of the day is going to be Tampa 4. Is that going to be your first, or do you already fire away?
No, that'll be my first play.
Okay. So this race is coming up in 18 minutes. So in terms of this race, what kind of stuck out as far as being like a race that you wanted to get involved in? You don't have to give away your
yeah,
play
I don't remember all the details, but I mean it's a turf race with a pretty wide open turf race, which is kind of ideal for the contest. I like the turf races because typically, favorites are more vulnerable because it's so trip pace dependent, and the larger fields create a little more chaos. So, you're kind of looking for variance in these contests in this format. So, I want to find a race where I think there's a good potential for a price, and then you got to find the right one. But, there you got to kind of watch the board a little bit and decide, all right, here's a couple that I like. Which one, based on the prices, are is the way to go?
That's the way it kind of looks right now, and I'm keeping my eye on it because I don't want to hold you up too much because I know you need to make that decision with there being 11 in this field, the favorite you're going to play against. And it does looking at the board, there's probably a few in there that you can also just sort of toss just based on the number.
Right.
So, I think that's just a good strategic play, especially you can get a race where you can start eliminating some horses. So before I send you off, is there anything you want to add, or any extra plugs? Or?
Well, first I do want to just once again thank Hawthorne. 12% win play show. That's just what the industry should be heading in that direction. Unfortunately, they don't, but I'm hoping that the players respond favorably. Because of the landscape of the way wagering is, you don't get the full benefit when you jump in first in something like that, but I'm hoping that they'll see some results and people will take notice. So I want to throw that out.
I appreciate you saying that, because I do think that change isn't immediate, right? It does take time to build, so that if people do support it, it will grow. And not think that it's going to happen day one.
No.
We're going to see this dramatic.
And the improvement's going to be spread across more than Hawthorne. I mean,
Yes.
Other tracks will benefit from players getting more back in their pocket, but because
Yes.
of the nature of the way we play today, with CAWs and multiple tracks, I may cash at Hawthorne and get more back than I would have otherwise, but I might be playing some of that at some other track as well as Hawthorne. So
You're right.
It gets
point.
diluted a bit, and the other tracks benefit. That's why it would work so much better if everyone got on board. But someone has to start, and I do think that it'll put more eyeballs on the track at Hawthorne, and people will go back to Hawthorne knowing that they get more back for their money. So I definitely think they'll see a result, but it'll actually be better than it looks because some of that gets diluted across the other tracks.
Yeah, that's a great point. I appreciate that. All right, Chris, I don't want to hold you up too much. We got 15 minutes.
I'm good. I've done all my thinking.
Okay.
I gotta make my decision near the end, so I'm not in a hurry. But I do want to say one thing about the contest, about this format in particular, because we talked a little bit about this yesterday. It's 3 days, and all like hundreds of races a day. And it really does make you approach the preparation in a different way. Most people aren't betting on hundreds of races a day.
Right.
And so it's kind of a marathon, and the preparation is important. And just the ability to kind of have the stamina
Yes.
to stay focused, especially today where I guarantee you about 2 o'clock, sort of the witching hour when all 8 tracks are in play, there's going to be bombs dropping left and right because of the nature of the races today. Be much different than yesterday. There'll be screaming and yelling, and you got all these tracks going off, and if you're not ready and focused, it's really easy to make mistakes. And that's what really kills you, is when, oh, you had this horse picked and 3 races are going off at the same time and you didn't get that play down and it wins at 25-1, and then
right.
you're just like crushed for the rest of the day.
Yeah, it's the making mistakes is you can't get that back, right? If you make a good play and it loses, you move on easily. But yeah, once things get off your game, you start making mistakes, things like that, then it can really mess you up. And then the stamina as well. I mean, I didn't play yesterday, but like I didn't sleep as much last night, and I knew, those things, like, they impact you. And as a player, you kind of just have to be like, I'm going to have to just tough it out and, stay focused on this game. And be prepared. The one thing you can do is be prepared, stay focused, try not to get distracted, and then you all have to just turn the page. If, you might make a mistake or you don't get a result. If you just, let it get to you, that can affect the rest of the day. And all it takes is 1 or 2 hits and you can be right back in the game. Absolutely. All right. Well, Chris, thanks for joining, and hopefully we'll talk again before the end of the weekend.
Maybe
We'd
I'll
like
get
to
hot.
drag you back over here. Maybe we'll do it regardless. We'll have maybe a final table of worst case scenario. If
right
you're
now,
not up there, you'll
won't
be here.
Yeah, I won't be busy on the final table right now if I don't pick it up. But who knows? I mean, I've had really good days on Saturday, so maybe this will be it.
I'm rooting for you. I know we're one of the people that, if they need to turn it around, can do it. So, all right. Well, thank you, and good luck in this upcoming race.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me on. It was fun.
All right, we're gonna do a quick mic switch while Trey comes on. And as things are going to pick up, because we got a lot of races that are coming back and forth. We get Tampa Race 4, which is 12 minutes out. The first mandatory race of the day is Tampa Race 5, and then things are really kicking off at that point. But Aqueduct is under the way. Gulfstream, you can hear the race call behind my back. Right now, we've got a 9-1 on the lead at Gulfstream Park, with some of the chalks that are closing in, but we're about to hear some hooting and hollering here as there's a 9-1 that's looking to hold on. And is that one you needed?
I don't know. I didn't have the 7. I don't remember. I didn't play it in the contest. I did have a pick 5 going over there, and I know I didn't have the favorite. So
okay.
So I'm happy.
Well, as we're jumping in, we have Trey Stiles here. I'm joined by, and we're watching the results of Gulfstream Race 2.
Action everywhere.
Because you didn't say you played the race in the tournament, but you are alive in the pick 5. We had 9-1. We talked earlier. You were able to get some points on the board. You had a 22, 23-1 or so.
Something like that.
Paid 16-10 to place, I believe. So you got some points.
Yes.
Has that been your only play of the day so far?
No, I did another one. I had the horse at Gulfstream that just ran. No, not Gulfstream. I had another second place finish with a 9-1. What was that?
Okay.
Tampa, I think.
Tampa,
it was.
yeah,
Tampa,
there was
last one at Tampa.
Okay, all right.
The horse that lost by half a length. So.
Okay, so but it seems like you're on it as far as getting some prices, getting some horses that are run. You just got to get them to maybe run a little bit faster. But I don't know if that's in your control or not. What's kind of your plan coming in from day 2? Because, well, let me back up a little bit.
Okay.
To day 1, tell me a little bit more about your day 1 as far as what your strategy was going in and kind of how that ended up playing out.
Well, even before the 2 tracks scratched out, the West Coast tracks are out, I thought that it looked that there weren't a lot of long shot options. So I was just going to try to take what I could get, shoot for my prices when I could. And I was right, there weren't a lot of prices, but I wasn't right in picking out the horses that did most of the winning. So I've got a little hill to climb, but fortunately, really, I was telling them before while waiting to come on with you, we're all in it today because nobody's very far out of it, right? So,
yeah.
But there just weren't many prices yesterday, so you just got to catch some today. I'm very optimistic. Seem to be seeing the ball better today.
Yeah.
Already got a couple that ran better than they did yesterday for me.
And sometimes that helps, and there is an inquiry objection, so this could change. I'm not sure who it's on, but it's on the first 2. We'll kind of might hear the room react a little bit going on. So being in the position that you're in from yesterday, and I know it's not a position everybody wants to be in, but the nature of this tournament, there's a lot of people that are, in the bottom that are kind of working your way up. And you've played many of these tournaments. How many times have you been to the NHC?
This is my 21st, I think.
Oh
it is.
Wow, okay. So you've done a few rodeos. So have you ever, what has kind of been your best finish when you sort of had not your most ideal day one and had to rally back? And
that's a good question. I hadn't really thought about that. I've had my best ever day was steady throughout, so that wouldn't be it. I had another pretty good finish. I had a good day one and not as good day two. Mm-hmm. One year I finished, I want to say 16th or something after a so-so start, but not way out of it. But
okay.
But I can't remember exactly where I was. But I know I finished because I finished after it was the day they added a third day. The year they added the third day, because I remember I was in the top 10 after 2 days, then they added a day and I fell out. So I remember being frustrated with that, but
you're like, oh, if it was this one year earlier, this could be
everybody's moving on.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I certainly haven't had success coming from dead last, from way out, and I'm not in last. I'm doing okay, but
yeah. And also you've played many one-day tournaments, and you've seen what a one-day tournament takes to win, and there's many of those out there. So
right.
Yeah, you're not without it. So as far as strategy-wise, is there anything different coming into today that kind of your overall, like when I was talking with Chris, he's sort of in the same spot, you're playing 2 entries, correct? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he has just the 1 entry where he's up for the $1 million bonus. Where his strategy is kind of got like the A, B, and C plan coming in. Do you sort of take the same approach, or are you trying to?
Yeah, I don't know that I have a specific A, B, and C plan, but before yesterday, I've pretty much looked at everything, and so that like last night, I didn't have to handicap any races. I just had to go, okay, here I am in, the year I was in 5th place. Okay, here I am in, what does a person in 5th place do with this knowledge and these races handicap? And I certainly had a different approach than I will this year, where, okay, I gotta take a few more risks. But I'd already kind of amped that out. I don't say I want to have an A, B, and C strategy set out, but I certainly had it all kind of, the big picture figured out, and then I just had to go back through and look at, I'd mark which races maybe were good if I was way out of it, and which races were good if I was closer. And so I already had a strategy set out that I then had to last night I just implemented that, didn't handicap any races. And came up with some plays or races that I think are likely to be in the range that are going to help me, and so far so good.
So one of the things that you said is that you're gonna take more risks. Like what does that risk kind of mean to you?
Well, I just can't afford to play horses. Like yesterday, there was a horse I really liked at. I figured we'd go off at 4 or 5 to 1. I just really can't do that. Wow, they DQ'd the horse.
They did. I was kind of watching it as we were talking, and I'm like, oh, we're about to see a DQ.
I think I just lost my pick 5 on a DQ. But I needed that earlier. I needed the DQ earlier when my horse ran second.
You did, yeah.
They were looking there, but didn't do anything.
Apparently, when you and I get together is
Weird
when the
happen.
Inquiries come up. So
2 times,
if you do need one, you should find me as quick as possible.
I'll come back and find you.
But
Wow.
sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just surprised that happened.
Yeah.
So where were we? What was it about? Strategies. Going second
risk.
Risk.
As far as risk, that risk means to you. So you were saying that you liked a horse yesterday that
it was like 4 to 5 to 1, and I just can't do that. Even if I love the horse, unless it's later and I catch up, I'm not going to play a 4 to 5 to 1 earlier. Whereas if I was in that top 10 range, I might say, okay, I really like this horse, and $20 would do me good.
Yeah.
So I might do that. So that's it. Just taking horses that are a little longer odds. When it comes down to, sometimes like in a mandatory, I like a 5 to 1, the best horse, and I like a 15 to 1 that has a shot. Well, I can't take the 5 to 1, even though I think that's a value play. I hate using that word. But even if it is a value play, I can't play it at this point.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because sometimes maybe we could just have this conversation right now. Some people just think, well, 5 to 1 is value because it's not the chalk. But if that horse should be 10 to 1, that one's not valued, right? So it's always hard to say like what that value is, and that came into play when I was talking with one of the players yesterday, as far as there was, deciding between the horse that they played at shorter odds and the longer odds, to where did you like that one at shorter odds so much more to justify not playing the other horse at longer odds, right? Like where that value is.
And that's where I zigged and zagged wrong yesterday. I mean, I made those wrong calls yesterday. I mean, when I should have taken the shorter one, I took the longer one. When I should have taken, it just happens. And I've said before, when you win this thing or do really well, the year I finished 5th. That decision every time I was right. I mean, every time I came down to, do I play this one or not play this one? And that's what it's really all about. Is you got to answer that question correctly that you just described, and it's hard to do for 2.5 days or 3 days.
All right. Well, I don't want to hold you up too much, but I appreciate talking. We really haven't had a chance to talk, and I respect your work. Obviously, I loved your interview with Nick. Nick did such it when he did the show. I thought that was great, and like hearing about. I like just hearing about like the process, right? Like you were talking about like your streaks, like you got really hot.
I did.
And those are obviously a lot easier to talk about, but there's also the flip side of that when there's the streak that goes the other way, and
I had it all on that tour this year. I was hot at first, and then in the middle I was like, good Lord, I can't pick anything. And then at the end I got to where I really was. I mean, I'd say, well, I need to come in the top 2% of this contest, and it was like, all right, I've been doing that. And normally that's really hard to do.
Yeah.
But I was in a role where I was just, it was bizarre. So here you just got to catch it for 3 days.
Okay.
It's hard.
It is. Well, good luck. I don't know if you have anything coming up soon, but
well, we have the mandatory coming up pretty soon, so go figure that one out. And
yeah, that seems like a
if I make a rally,
race.
you can have me back. I'll come back,
All
or
right.
if I need a DQ,
right,
I'm gonna find you.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good. All right, good luck.
All right,
rest of the way. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
You bet. What do I do?
All right, so there was a disqualification, and I'm sure there's a lot of people in this room that are going to talk about what a tough beat that was, because there was a 9-to-1 horse, so essentially a $20 win place horse that was taken down, the 4-to-5 getting put up, so the 4-to-5 probably isn't going to impact too much the win, but also a 7-to-1 winner over at Aqueduct in race 2, so maybe we'll see a little bit of board movement where we hadn't had so much board movement early on in the day. And so just quickly, we're getting like seamless here, joined by Kevin Costello.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, good.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Good
So
to see you.
how are you doing coming into day 2?
Not great.
All right, what do you mean by not great?
$30 or so. So I had to change it. Up. I was too well dressed yesterday, so I'm dressing down like a rail bum. That's my strategy today.
All right, so let's without, hopefully it doesn't bring up too tough of feelings.
Sure.
But as far as yesterday, when you say like it didn't go that great, did you make mistakes, or did it just not luck out?
I did make one. I think a lot of the prices I was picking were running their race, but they were getting beat they were laying 3rd or 4th, and they just couldn't get up, or they got nailed at coming down the lane. The one thing that I did beat myself up about a little bit is there was one race at Oak Lawn where I had 2 long shots picked up, and I was originally going to split them between my 2 entries. And I decided, watching the money flow in the pick 3, that one of them seemed much more live than the other with the doubles in the pick 3. And I just put that one double-barreled on both entries. Well, of course, the other one won. And was yesterday's largest price. So that hurt, and so I'm a little behind the 8 ball this year. With that, but we'll see if we can catch up today.
Have you over the years kind of been able to sort of condition yourself a little bit better to recover from those mistakes, right? Because a mistake like that, depending on sort of like a mental state, can just sort of take people back. They can lose their tournament right in that moment, right?
Yeah.
Where just really that's all they can think about going forward for the next 3 days. And at that point, it's like there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to move on. And how
You do.
quickly can you get that kind of behind you and push forward?
I would say in this format it's tough because when you miss one in this format it's harder to catch up. But I think one thing that I've learned over the years is don't panic too soon, which is not, it's different than saying don't panic.
Too soon, right.
Yeah, just don't panic too soon. There's still a long way to go. And I think if you get a little bit behind, there's an inclination to, I've got to start going for the cappers right now. Not necessarily. You still have to pick your value, you still have to pick your prices. But when you see horses that you really think are going to get to the wire first, and even if the price is not a double-digit price, but you have a high degree of confidence, it still makes sense sometimes to take those horses and chuck your way up the leaderboard.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, even the horse yesterday, that there was that 17-1, which was the biggest price horse of the day. But even that horse is not even a cap horse.
That's
so
true.
it's not even that there was a lot of those big bombs yesterday to recover from, and we've seen Saturday's usually like the day where it can get kind of wild. And so, again, anything can happen. Maybe it's not. Maybe we'll have another day like that where we're getting, the 6, 7, 8, 9-1s, and then maybe 15 is the highest, and getting on the good side of those. But it's not like a day where there was a lot of bombs. A lot of people had it. The scores are crazy, and it really puts you behind. So coming into today, have you done a lot of your handicapping, or are you one that's just sort of like, I've done kind of a preliminary, and now I'm going to play the board and play situations?
Yeah, I've got like 26 races mapped out, which is more than I can play, given the amount of selections we have. But basically, as I go through the card, I have a list of about 8 bets that are must bets that I have to make. So I want to make sure that I save. When you say must, I'm just sorry to cut you off.
That's not counting the 8 mandatories.
Correct.
Those are your, okay.
Yes.
So those musts are of
Must
your
bet
optionals.
optionals.
Okay.
I've got to play those races.
Okay.
So it's really about managing your optionals, which is one of the things that I've learned over the 6 or 7 years of being here. You have to manage your optionals so you don't run out of bullets, and now one of your best picks is coming up late in the day. You got to make sure. I did that the first year that I was here. So that's really important. So it really helps, and I think it's really necessary if you want to be serious about trying to win. You have to map out your whole day and make sure chronologically speaking along the whole card, where are my best bets in the optional races, and make sure that you've got plays that you can make where you can put those on one or both tickets. Then you kind of get to a budget of, okay, I got 3 or 4 picks on each entry, and I'll just kind of wing it, and I'll see what pops up on the board that I like.
Yeah, as you said that, it reminded me. I remember, I think I was playing Horseplay World Series one year, and did something I don't think I'd ever done before, and I don't know if I'd ever done since, but it seemed to work out, where there was a couple horses that I thought would be in that double-digit range, and at the beginning of the day, just put them in, just so that they were in there, and then allowed myself the capacity that when that race came up, if I didn't like it for whatever reason, the odds were too short, or the horse looked bad or whatever, but at least so that I was like, all right, these are in. And now
you know what you got to play.
Now I know a little bit more just in terms of management races. So right now there's a lot of rooting because we've got a turf race at Tampa going up. We've got an 11-1 on the lead.
Yeah, I took the 3.
Okay,
so
you got the 3.
Looks like I'm going to be third
looks
again.
Like you're going to get maybe fourth.
Fourth, yeah.
But
okay.
it seemed like, I think those are as we're talking about races to play, and also trying to find some separation, like a race. I think people are looking at the turf races, looking at the big full fields because of opportunities such as that. Catching a price, catching a trip, catching maybe some buried form, a pace scenario, etc. And again, we'll probably see some movement there with an 11-1. In that type of race where I think people kind of look at, this is a race I'm going to get involved in, right?
Yeah, and I think on a day like today, and usually I believe Saturday is usually the big move day on NHC. It's not that you can't make a big move. A couple guys did yesterday. One of them, a friend of mine, Al Benton, is right there again.
Oh yeah,
after having a great run yesterday.
I got to talk to him yesterday. Yeah.
But I think Saturday you get a little more fuller fields. We usually have some nice stakes races, and the thing with stakes races is whether the stakes races themselves or not have value, because sometimes you get really strong chalks in those stake races, and they're good horses and they deserve the support. But be that as it may, a lot of times you get a lot of other owners that want to bring those horses out for those days, and it tends to produce fuller fields on the undercard.
You're right.
That's a lot of ways that you can get value. Same with turf racing too. Turf racing, the tendency is the margin of victory is smaller than it is on the dirt. And as a result, sometimes there's a little bit more volatility. This is my opinion. But I believe that's one reason why it's sometimes good to go for your prices in turf races. Seems to be a little bit more volatility than there is in the dirt sometimes.
Yeah, I think so too. There's especially when you have full fields, turf is so much class, so much pace. A lot of things can happen during that outcome, right? And then as we saw in that race, and as we've seen a lot in general, someone taking advantage of the pace scenario up front as well.
True.
Thinking they're gonna, all rate and get the trip, and having a little bit too much to do, like maybe like the 3 in that particular race.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Somebody
so
scored.
got some. We should say a little bit of board movement. 25-20 on the winner was 680 to place. And again, as we're mentioning, just a race that I think a lot of people got involved in just based on the nature of it. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for joining. Wishing
Very
you
welcome. Yeah.
luck. I hope you have a big day.
Thank you. Got my work cut out for me.
You like you said, you've been here before, and there's a lot more people that have that are in that spot than are doing well, right? It's just kind of the nature of the beast in these big full fields. So, at least from our perspective, it's good to talk to because we've all been there, and you got to rally. But thank you,
Thanks
thank you so much.
Have a great day.
All right. What's the leaderboard comes up? Greg Lewis is going to join. Be able to give some updates as far as the leaderboard as well. If there was some movement after the 7-1 at Aqueduct, then the 11-1.
Hi, Greg Lewis.
Hi, Greg. Good to see you again.
Nice to see you.
So, Greg, have you had any action today as far as plays? Anything hit? Anything played in general?
I played 2 optionals and have a place pool, so it is something, but not what we're looking for.
Okay. So you got some place points. Were you involved in the race for at Tampa that just went up?
I was not.
Okay. All right. Because they're just putting that one up right now. So coming into day 2, where were you at the end of day 1?
Probably in the 200 area on both my cards.
So 200 plates.
Right.
Right. Okay. So as far as
$55.
Okay. So that puts you in a good spot. Really, I mean, coming into today, where you're. What is your strategy coming into today?
Well, I play a little bit unusually. Having 2 entries, what I do is I put my 8-10 best ideas on all my optionals, and then I split my mandatories because unless I have a really good feeling on those, which I don't. But what I've done is I played all my optionals already until the last mandatory race, and I have a couple optionals after that. Just so I don't miss races, which I can do, because it just gets kind of busy here sometimes.
I've talked to so many people over the days, and we spend so much time talking about the optionals, because obviously the optionals, those are your optionals, right? That's where you can form your best opinion. And people kind of take like a different approach as far as the mandatories. In terms of the mandatory races, since you are splitting them, are you taking what's kind of your strategy for those races as a whole? Are you just trying to put up points? Are you trying to take prices and hope you get lucky? Are you often where you like those type of races and you're playing them like, oh, this is a race that I would have played regardless?
Well, if I get to a situation where I play it regardless, I may put it on both entries. So what I really want to talk to the guy, I'm kind of newer at this, I'm talking to guys like Tony Zhao and Kevin and things like Kevin Costello is, you want to move your money in where you have opinions. That's why I kind of do it. I tried it this year with the options. Not working out, but hey, I think to me it makes sense because I have a tough enough time narrowing stuff and getting decent ideas. And on the mandatories, what I think is a decent value and has a chance to win. I just go, I don't get, hey, well, I don't like this horse because it's not going to pay anything. You still need points. I mean, last year I made the cut by $1.50, so every point, helps.
It does, and people forget that. There was like some people I talked to yesterday, even today, that have 20 or 30 bucks, and it's like that might make all the difference in the end. By the end of today, especially if you have a good day, and putting up those points. And I know the team at the NHC NTRA wants to pick mandatory races that are playable races that can produce some value. And I think as far as today, I kind of perused them myself just to get familiar, and I thought there were some races that could present some opportunities, and by that, typically for me, when I'm talking about opportunities, is favorites that look weak or vulnerable, or horses that could be overbet and can be situations that are overlays, like we saw in the 9th race yesterday at Oaklawn Park, with the winner being a 2. If you really, you kind of look at that horse, was probably one of the top 3 horses in the race, and just kind of got lost on the board with sort of the public gravitating in different directions. So I think there is some opportunities there. Now I don't want to hold you up too much, because as we're talking about mandatories, race 5 at Tampa is the first one, and it's 18 minutes out. Have you already put your...
Oh yeah, I put all my mandatories in until the last.
Okay.
I just haven't looked at the last of Santa Anita because they took it off the grass, so I gotta, shake the dice and see what turns up there. Take a look at that one, because I don't know how depleted that field will be as we roll into that race. So I got all my action in until 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. So I kind of chill.
So without like going into your pick for Tampa race 5, what was sort of your approach on this race in terms of playing it?
Just the 2 horses that I think have the best chance to win, regardless of odds.
Just wanting to get the points.
Yeah,
just
pretty
wanting
much.
To,
Even though I'm way down there, I just, I don't think there's a 3 to 5. I don't honestly remember, but I think I played the...
Currently the 2 6 to 5. So.
Oh, I got that one. Oops, maybe not. Maybe I should change that. But
is that who you're on?
On the 5 and the 2, I think. But
okay.
I just put it up there and see what's going on. But probably not going to change it. Just it is what it is. And just kind of grind along and see if I can hit something big and have enough points.
As we're saying that and just kind of talking it out loud, I always think people that have been following Hawthorne, and especially what we're doing every week on the live show, is we play these races like in real time, and so much of that is impacted by the board. And I think it does help, because sometimes, I like a horse and you kind of start to just go through. And so I won't hold you up to post time in case you need to kind of go back through. But look at those fields again. Look at the 6 to 5. Look at the 4 to 1s, and make sure that's a number at a place that you're comfortable with.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's just sometimes I can lock myself in there and just go, because I like to pick and pray, because I can just go do that and throw it in there and not question myself later on. Of course you will if it loses, but you don't want to be in a situation where you're flipping off a horse, flipping on a horse. It just becomes, there's so many races, it's just mentally draining. It's nice to just kind of set it and forget it and move on. And yeah, the prices, are not where you want, or something floats up. Yeah, I guess you could do that, but it just doesn't work for me. So. Yeah,
and again, you have to find out what works for you. But the more that you can, at least. I think talking through everybody throughout, regardless of what their strategy and what their approach is, to just minimize mistakes. Obviously, the luck comes through, but to minimize the amount of mistakes. Well, Greg, I appreciate you joining, and obviously supporting Hawthorne, doing well, coming out to the tournaments, and just being here, being one of the 26 that we're rooting for.
Well, really, Hawthorne does a great job, and I just encourage anybody to go up to those events. I started as a small cash player 3 or 4 years ago. That's where I met Kevin and a few other folks. So it's a great place to learn how to play the game, and a great place to get your goals, whether it's the NHC or other events. So Hawthorne is probably the best value out there for cash tournament play.
For any tournament play, but yes, definitely offer that value. Well, thank you so much. Good luck in this upcoming race and day 2, and we'll keep looking for you on the leaderboard.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thanks a lot.
All right, we're still waiting for a leaderboard update. Oaklawn Park is underway. We had kind of the favorite run in there, a little bit of price finishing in second, but as far as just kind of they moved the leaderboard, it was kind of right over my shoulder, but now it's over here. It doesn't look like a whole lot of movement as far as the top for the first early session, but we'll check back in. We're going to come back this afternoon, try to talk to some more players, give some more leaderboard updates. The mandatories will be kicking off. Again, it's going to be pretty busy in the middle of the day, so we'll have some updates for you throughout the day and then come back with a later session as well. Make sure if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, put those alerts on so that when we do go live, you get the notification.